thank you all so much for being here, to our panelists and to everyone watching. We're so excited to start off our first Athletes Connect webinar. We have some really amazing athletes here to share some of their experiences. The idea for this series came from our state athlete input council, which, for those of you who don't know, is a group of athletes who represent different regions around the state and share feedback and input from athletes all over the state. And so their idea was to provide a way for all of our Special Olympics athletes to stay connected to each other. And here was this idea to connect all kinds of athletes.
Yeah, so on top of that, so many of you might not know Shalom. I don't know where he is on your screen. Shalom, do you want to give a quick wave? And then please correct me if I'm butchering your last name. Shalom Suniula, is that right?
Yep, great job.
Got it. So Shalom is a two-time Major League Rugby champion with the Seattle Seawolves, who we love. If you guys don't know, the Seattle Seawolves are involved with a lot of the things that Special Olympics do, from polar plunge, day of inclusion. They also invite us to be a part of some of their home games during the season. Shalom has been involved with Special Olympics for a couple years, but recently really upped his level of involvement by joining the Special Olympics board. And he also organizes community engagement events between Special Olympics Washington and the Seawolves. And now he is hosting this amazing panel. So Shalom, I will hand it over to you to talk more about yourself, introduce the rest of our awesome panel.
Yeah, thank you, team. Seriously, I'm extremely honored to be on here and to be able to share. I mean, in a nutshell, the last decade, I've spent my time as juggling between, like most of you, being an athlete, juggling a job, being a student, and at the same time, you know, it really is a juggling act. And so something that we all have in common, and I know that you guys will all appreciate, and something that will, you know, learning never stops, right? And what brought this whole idea up with Angela and Steve and the other input councils was, you know, COVID-19 has impacted us all greatly in many different ways, right? But one thing that we all have in common is sports, right? And events that we play. And so for me personally, one of the greatest things that about sports is the people that are the friends that I make along the way, whether it's in rugby or what you'll find in our guest panelists. Today we have Alev, who we'll introduce here in a second, but I've met people from various events through the Olympics, and it's been amazing how much of lifelong friends that become. And so the greatest scheme of things, what better time to connect, you know, all of us together than during this time, right? And so the goal of this call is, I'm hoping that through the guest speakers with Angela, Stephen, and Alev, and myself, that we could help answer some of the questions that are out there. How are we going to stay competition ready? No one knows when that is. There's so much uncertainty out there. But we're all wondering, right? What could we do in the meantime? How do we best maximize this time, right? How do we find positive amongst so much, you know, negative news out there? Not so much negative news, but you know what I mean by, like, there's delays in competition and things like that. So we're all itching, I bet, to get back out there and compete in our sport, something we all love doing. So that's my goal of this. I invited Alev on here. Geez, there's so much to speak about this lovely lady, and she's the theme today is what makes you an athlete. Quite a broad topic, and I know that questions will be coming through, and please feel free to type your questions as we go. Rachel and Leah will capture those, and there is a Q&A at the end. But I want you to know how lucky we are to have Alev on this call. I mean, no better person for this topic. She's represented our country in the age grade with soccer, ice hockey, and now she's a world phenomenal athlete. She's very popular in the rugby circles globally. So we're very honored to have her. She was in the Olympics in 2016, and most likely going to be in the Olympics 2021. I felt like that she has a very strong story to share amongst our guests that we have on here, and I think it'll resonate. So, Rachel, shall we kick on in terms of the question? What makes you an athlete?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, again, before we get going, please feel free to type your questions through or save it for the end, for the Q&A at the end. But for the most part, Alev, do you want to say anything about yourself? I know that could be tough. Do you want to just say hi to our friends on here?
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Rachel and Leah, and Shalom, of course. Thank you it's been an honor to be a part of this, and to all the participants, to all of you guys that are joining. We're so excited to have an awesome chit chat about how we can, better ourselves as athletes, and not just as athletes, but as people. And I'm excited to, talk about what makes all of us amazing athletes.
Great. So, Alev, we'll get right into it. I know we got a lot of content to cover. So, your thoughts. Our theme for today is what makes you an athlete. So, I'm sure even from Stephen and Angela, I'm sure you guys have your opinion on what makes an athlete, right? But let's dive deeper into that. So, Alev, you come from a background of you played soccer growing up, you played hockey, and then you went to the Olympics with rugby. Like, how did that come about? Like, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a crazy story, but I played a lot of different sports. I'm sure we all have, like when we were younger, and my favorite was soccer and ice hockey, and so a lot of people said you have to specialize and just choose one, and I said, well, I love two, and I want to play as many as I can, and I think just that multifaceted, you learn so many different things. Mentally, you have to be strong, and physically, you have to be strong to play not just one sport. Also, you don't risk the idea of burnout, of only doing one thing forever and ever and ever can sometimes get a little boring. So the idea is to try as many things as possible, find what you love, and then follow that. So
nice. Stephen, you play basketball, soccer, softball, and flag football. Tell us, what does being an athlete mean to you?
I like being an athlete because I get to meet new friends and a lot of new people, and get to hear their stories on how they started, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Angela, you play, you do a lot of swimming, golf, and skiing. That's
when I was growing up, I used to do track and field, swimming and track and field.
Yeah.
Then I got involved I grew up skiing too. Being an athlete's just an honor. It makes you feel good inside. I just think of it as like a new beginning for me, for being more included in other sports and in different teams. It makes you included into it.
Lovely.
So basically, that's what I think about that.
That's beautiful.
To me, so.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because for me, I grew up playing, well, I tried to play soccer and I tried to play basketball, wasn't tall enough. But guess what? Playing a variety of sports did for me. It allowed, like Alev said, and like you alluded to, Angela, I was able to meet a lot of friends along the way, and lifelong friends, right? And that's the greatest thing about sports, right? Is that you always have that connection. And again, tying back to the goal of this series of calls that we're going to do like this, is that now you guys have made a new friend in Alev, right? You got a new friend in me.
I'm so excited.
And we can stay connected well beyond COVID-19 era, right? It's about keeping up with how competition's going with everybody, and if anything, that's meaningful relationships that sport gives us, right? So, Alev, you talked about going from sport to sport and how that's helped you So if we were to narrow that down to what makes you an athlete, so there are two sides of it, right? There's the physical attributes, like for example, from soccer going to rugby, you probably picked up skills like kicking with both feet, right? And for those who don't know, Alev, that kicking with both feet is insane. Like that is unheard of in rugby. If you can do that, and they're equally as good as each foot. Like it's crazy, and Alev can do that, and that's and it's incredible skill. And to do that at the international level, I'm in awe of what she could do. So Alev, can you touch on what physical attributes did playing a variety of sports give you, and the other side, if not as equally important, what character traits came up from that?
Absolutely. Thank you for your kind your kind words. I'm blushing over here. No, you're also a tremendous athlete too, Shalom. So let's not forget that as well. But the two things that I think you talked about is more like one's a tangible you can see. The physical hard work, the determination, the effort that you give. And there's the coachable side. So there's the approachable side and the coachable side. And both are extremely important to being an athlete and to being a successful athlete. You can be the most talented athlete in the world, but not be coachable, and you won't succeed. And so the idea is that mentally you show a sense of humility. Like, I'm ready to learn. I'm a sponge. I'm ready to grasp any ounce of knowledge. And to also with that is the willingness to share knowledge with people, and to willingness to be a friend to people, and to share yourself in and amongst your fellow teammates. And the other side is I guess that is the approachable side too, is the coachable side. But all of that comes into your mindset of how is my physical body going to do the work? How willing am I to put myself into tough situations and to work hard and to persevere. Those are some things that are really important, the approachable and the coachable side of being an athlete.
That's awesome, Alev. I love what you said about being coachable, and that approach to what, obviously that ties into making you a better athlete physically, right? Because you're a sponge. What would you say about that during this time, during COVID-19, where there's no competition? For our listeners on listening right now, they all play a variety of sports as well, just like Angela and Stephen. And what could they be doing now to help them prepare?
Oh, absolutely. This is it's a really good question, because it's actually $1 million question right now. What can I do in this time, which is, nobody can prepare for?
Right.
We have a lot of coaches telling us, training regimens and techniques on skills, and now it's yourself in your environment, and what can you do? For me, it's be willing to pick up a new task or a new something you've never tried before.
That's great.
Try to make your own, I guess. I don't know, there's things you can do, crossword puzzles, you can learn a new Sudoku or some sort of thing. Learn to journal, and this idea of being a mentally strong athlete, you have to understand your thoughts and patterns. When you're tried and you're working really hard, what thoughts come to your mind? And this moment is very hard and trying for us too, because we want to get out there and play. That's the last thing we want to do, is just be inside or not with our friends or not around our teammates, and the people that love us and support us. Is just be okay with being you and love yourself through this. And however that is learn to relax. Find new techniques to relax, and whether it's meditation or simply put an alarm on for a minute and just breathe steadily for a minute. Those are so simple, but that's what's going to make you a better athlete. And the more important thing is that the more present you can be in this moment, and the more willing you are to grow in this time, the better athlete you will be in the future.
Wow. That's fantastic. Yeah.
because I do yoga and that helps big time.
Yeah, and I
do
think that,
yoga a lot. I do 6
Yes.
days a week yoga.
yes,
And I do walking a lot too.
yes. See, those are amazing techniques.
And I do golf. I do practice my putting indoors.
I think my mom would kill me. I'm not as good as you.
Stephen, you play a wide variety of sports, and I'm sure our listeners, there's a few others that do the same. How important is it for you to stay in contact with your teammates during this time?
It's very important because I like to stay in contact with them to see how they're doing and how they're dealing with this virus. And
Yeah. No, and that can be challenging, right? Is to stay connected. It could be. I mean, let's not take it for granted. Take technology for granted. Not everybody might have access to it, right? And it could be challenging to try and navigate our way through this. That's what I mean by COVID-19 presents us many different challenges. Angela, if you're playing a sport like swimming and golf, which is, quite an individual
and skiing
sport,
too.
and skiing, right? I mean, you could easily, for our listeners out there who also do the same, some could easily find themselves isolated without being involved in a team sport. How do you cope with that? How do you cope with staying connected with people and other athletes?
I just tell them, just be yourself and just have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And they can just, I guess I'm not sure what their routine does, but that's a very good question, because when I usually do, I love to draw, so I have a stress reliever drawing book. I do other things to not be so stressful out, because all this virus and stuff is taking a toll. So I do have a personal life. And then this person's on our swim team. So I help them out as much as I can. Love to. My goal is, I was going to get my WSI eventually, but to help kids out, to how to swim and the safety of the water kind of thing, basically. I was going to go finish my college degree, but it's not going to happen. Basically, I did go to school for a little while, but I got transferred over to Toronto, Canada.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. So
nice.
I used my, So.
You mentioned two great things on there.
I love the arts too. Math and art is my love of education, basically.
That's awesome.
I think that's so important, Angela, is that to create during this time is so important.
It is, definitely.
We create in our sports, and we create memories, and we create friendships, and we create so many cool things.
Yes.
And if you can recreate that feeling in time of now, you'll see you'll be, you can get out of those little ruts, or you can be inspired to remember what it felt like to play. And so even if it's little, making drawings or again writing or something that is other people's fortes they've never tried before, but creating in the arts is so important.
I love creating. I do a lot of trucks too. So.
That's brilliant. Angela, I love two things stuck out to me there. One was your ability to help out others during this time. I mean, no better way to get over, this situation. You feel so much better, so much more rewarding, where you not make it about yourself, and you're adding value to others. That's a great way. I like that. The other thing that stood out to me was routine. So Alev, do you want to touch on, what are your thoughts on how important is routine during this time? I mean, there could be a variety of things like a training routine. Do you have a sleep routine? Do you still eat as regiment as if you were competing in the Olympics next month? Are things still the same? So what's different about routine? And because I've heard mixed feelings, right? Some people are like, no, it's bad to have a routine during this time. It's best to just, wake up and feel free to, relax and just let the day unfold itself, right? And then, to athletes, I'm not sure about everybody else, but I'm like, that's the opposite. We like to stick to a schedule where we know what we're doing because that's how we're taught in terms of preparing. You want to touch a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. I think it's extremely important to have a routine, and mostly because I think if I'd let my own self or my own volition to take over, I'd probably sleep the whole day. I would sleep the whole day, and nothing would get done. However, there's days for that, but not every day. So there's times to relax and to enjoy the quiet times, but for me it's really get up, make my bed. That's a huge thing for me, is to make my bed, because if there's nothing else I do, I can come back and say that was a success, I did it. And but it's important for me to do that, make my bed, have a big healthy breakfast. Nutrition is so important. I'm not necessarily meeting the amount of hours or calories I've been burning when I was outside of COVID. So making sure I'm still eating pretty healthy is so important. But yes, getting to bed on time, not staying up too late. It might feel like you don't have much the next day to go to bed early for, but it catches up with you. And too many days sleeping catches up with you, and not enough days sleeping catches up with you. So there is a happy medium, and I believe that you can try different routines. That's something that's really beautiful in this time, is that you have the freedom to try different routines and try new things, but to stay on a schedule, maybe not too much on that schedule, but enough to feel like you're being productive in certain avenues.
That's fantastic. Stephen, what's your take on routine? Surely you play basketball, soccer, softball, flag football. What routine did you have before COVID-19, and how is that different now for you personally? You're muted.
Got better.
Yep, that's better.
Before that virus hit, I was out hanging with my friends. We would go to the park, shoot hoops, work on different plays. There's things that I needed to work on. They'll work with me to get that taken care of. We'll go practice at the softball fields and stuff like that. Every now and then we'll go bike riding.
Did you have a set schedule of when you went to bed, when you woke up? Was that consistent pretty throughout?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. What about nutrition?
I eat healthy.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Angela, how about you?
My routine, I usually get up in the morning, get cleaned up, get ready for work, get my breakfast.
Nice.
I usually have a light breakfast, not like a heavy duty type breakfast. And then after that, I get to work. I eat 40 hours a week, 5 days a week. Then after I get off work, I do a yoga class around 5:30 or 6, or sometimes around noontime on Friday. And in the meantime, I just try to figure out, I do like sit-ups or push-ups. Basically, I do that too. When I feel like on Thursdays, I can do that. But mostly during the week is mostly yoga classes.
Yeah, fantastic.
And on weekends too, I do yoga classes. So I usually stay fit. Nutrition is my life. Ever since this virus, I've been cooking up a storm.
Nice.
But actually tonight I'm having veggie omelet tonight.
Oh, wow.
top, veggie burrito kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I get what I eat.
Brilliant. Well, that's fantastic. Well, before I hand it back to Leah, to all the listeners that are on, if you could all type what sport you play, just so we have an idea of what sports are represented on here or events, that'll be really great to know. Like I know I personally would love to hear who does what, and then I'd love to ask you guys some questions. But for now, Leah, back to you.
I'm going to jump in for a quick second. So looking through the comments, a lot of the attendees have been answering the question, what makes them an athlete? And it seems that a recurring answer is being a teammate, like being a good teammate and having good sportsmanship. So I just thought that was really interesting. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to talk about with being a good teammate and how to continue to be a good sport.
Yeah, so I'll tackle that one. For being a good teammate, that has taught me a lot, you know, in my life off the pitch, and how important that is. I've always said that on the field, that you're as good as, you know, you're as good as the player next to you, basically. Right. No one's better than, you know, there is no the best player on the field. And so, because it takes one person to kind of go off script, and then your whole game plan might be thrown off, whether you play basketball, soccer, or whatever sport, right? It just takes, one wrong play. So with that being said, being a good teammate means that you've got to be a good listener. And I've always said that there's two types of communication. There's the kind of rah-rah kind of communication, and there's like the effective communication, where you're giving, you know, detail, and you're listening as well to your teammates and responding. So I've always got some valuable lessons to carry to life after, professional sports into the business world, which can help you transition out, which I'm sure everyone, you know, one day will transition into a job, or if not already. But yeah, that's what I'd say.
I would love to add to that too. Shalom, I think you hit it. That hit a home run there. The idea is to be selfless, to give yourself, and to include everyone. Just as you were once included onto that team too, like now you get to also make people feel that way. And that inclusive mentality is so important. And I think a lot of folks have touched on that in this, in the webinar chat. And I can't say how important that is. If you don't feel like you belong somewhere, then that's really sad. And so the idea is to really make people feel like they belong. And you can do that by listening and by sharing yourself and being selfless and willing to help others when they need help. Being a good teammate too is like to ask for help when you need help, which is really cool.
I need to work on that part.
Me too.
Well, some of our attendees have answered the sports they play. Before I share some of that, Stephen or Angela, do either of you have anything you'd like to add about being a teammate?
Being a teammate is listen to instructors or coaches, whatever sport you're doing. I know I do listen sometimes as part of educating and communicating, so we know what to do, what in our sports right now, in our sports today, is about listening, communicating, and just do what we can do to be a better player.
That's awesome. Stephen, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, one thing I've always been told by my coaches is there's no I in team. We all work as a team, not individually.
Absolutely. And I think there's a pretty cool sense of community in general, but especially right now with Special Olympics and with these webinars where we're all working as a team to get everybody motivated and keep everyone connected. So I think that's such an important topic to think about when it comes to being on a team.
Yes.
So a bunch of our participants have mentioned the sports that they play, and it's really awesome. We have such a wide range of sports represented on the call. I'll just list a few of them. I jotted them down. There are people who play basketball, bowling, skiing, swimming, biking, softball, flag football, track and field, bocce ball, and figure skating. And I'm sure there are some others that I missed too, but I think it's just pretty cool to see what a wide range we have of athletes, but everyone's able to come together in a shared experience of being an athlete, and a similar experience of all going through this pandemic that we're experiencing. And so we have a lot to share. And that leads into another question that I'd love for all of you to answer, which is if you have a favorite short story to share with us about being an athlete, either that or if you have maybe a piece of advice that you could share with everyone from your experiences, and feel free to do both, but that's something that I would be curious to hear. So an interesting story and a piece of advice.
Can I go first? Remember one story, me and my athlete who's on our ski team. We go way back. We ski together. We race together. One of remember state games a long time ago. Her and I got the gold medalist. We got the gold medal together, and that means so much. That's just we hug each other and tell how much we love to do it. Just enjoy it. And that's my advice. Enjoy everything you do, no matter what sport you're in.
That's wonderful. I think I'll jump on that as well. It's having fun is so important. And I think playing as many sports as possible is also, you can triple and quadruple all the fun. So I think it's a really cool opportunity if you do have a chance to pursue all the things you like and not have to specialize. However, I do also, I think my advice is to not be afraid of I guess the wins and losses define you, but it's not your performance that defines you, it's your purpose. Why you do things and why you want to be a teammate and why you want to be around such amazing people, that defines you, and how hard you work and your characteristics and values that you have inside of you defines you, not necessarily your wins or your losses. So we can learn a lot from our losses, and we can learn a lot from our wins as well, but we can learn a lot from each other and a lot from how you love yourself and show that to others.
Can I add to that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think winning or losing, that's out of mind. I don't pay attention to that. It's just feeling how important you are for sport.
I think you guys understand. I think that's such an amazing understanding point. If that's something that you believe in, that you can also teach others, because I think that's a very, very, very valuable lesson.
I think I'll go next. Incredible stories. My short story, and I'll keep this as short as possible, was a recent memorable story, and it's with the Seawolves, right? So one of my teammates, in fact, he was one of the main players on our team. His name is Phil Mack. So Phil and I used to go against each other with our lovely neighbors up north with Canada, right? And him and I used to go head to head on the international stage for years. And let's just say that, I mean, we all love competing here, and let's just say we had some pretty feisty battles along the way. And when the Seawolves came about 3 years ago, 2018, guess what? We're now teammates. And oh my, if there was one player on this planet Earth where where I couldn't stand, it was him. And then funny enough, we're on the same team with the Seawolves, and we had to learn how to get along. So speaking of sportsmanship, speaking on all these values that we're touching on, teammate, I had to swallow a tough pill. So did he. And it was the funniest story. We got through the season. We went through adversity. We didn't talk each other outside of training for maybe the first month. And then after that, we got over ourselves because we had a new common goal, and we ended up winning the championship together. And I tell you what, we finally had a heart-to-heart talk about halfway through the season. We were like, you know what? You were really nasty to me over the years. And we had finally adjusted. And to me, that sticks out because, again, you know, sports teaches us very valuable lessons, right? And if there's anything, it taught me humility. It taught me respect. It taught me, you know, things that no one's bigger than the game, and nothing, you know, whatever happens on the field stays on the field, because it's all about competing. Right? It's all about competing, and Stephen, you're going to give your best shot out there when you play basketball with your mates, and there's no hard feelings in that, right? Because respect is a huge value in sport. So with that being said, I'll make those my advice as well. Humility is important, respect is important, but hey, one thing when we do compete though, we are going to give it our best. That's for sure.
Those are great. Thank you. Stephen, do you have anything you want to share, a short story or some advice?
Well, let's see. A couple of years ago, I got to do something that I've never done before, and I enjoyed doing it. I got to coach my nephews, and I really enjoyed it. And I was it was softball season. They were doing the individual skills. I got to take everything that I've learned, and I've showed them what I've learned over the years.
That's a really cool experience. That sounds great.
So we have a couple questions from our awesome attendees. And I know Marsha's been dying to get her question answered. So Marsha, yours is first up. Marsha just asked, as a captain, when you're in season, how and what do you do to get your teammates fired up and ready for matches and competitions? She's a captain herself on her team, so she's looking for ways to inspire her teammates.
That's a great question. I was lucky enough, fortunate, unfortunate to be the captain of the Seawolves, right? It comes with responsibilities. And Marsha, is it Marsha? Yeah, Marsha. So one of the things that I learned along the way is that there's a difference between managing and leading diversity, right? Managing means you treat everybody the same. And understanding how to lead a diverse group of athletes means you treat everyone, you talk to everybody different. The way I talk to Alev, she receives and gives communication different to the way Angela might talk to me. So I've got to talk to each of my teammates in not in completely different ways, but you understand them and how to address them and how to relay communication to them. So if you play a team sport, you obviously know how important communication is, right? You add pressure to anything, it does some funny things to you. So getting an understanding of your teammates and knowing them and putting in the time off the field. Let's just put it that way. Putting in your time off the field with them, whether it be sitting down with them, have lunch with them, and with intent, books up. Even if they say they're okay, then they're not. I found out that they're not. Everyone who tells you, yeah, I'm fine, I know what I'm doing on the weekend or when competition time, but you might not even talk to them about things to do with your sport. You might talk, you might find out about things, how they are at home, off the field, because when you build that trust with them, it goes a very long way. It goes a very long way into building that chemistry on the field or on the court or wherever, whatever sport you may play.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely, Angela.
I used to be a captain for our ski team. I know, like you said, adversity. I know we have to make sure everybody's there. I know basically you motivate each other in our sports, what we do. And I do that. I do a lot of that. I do a lot of motivating in my days. And I did it this past year at skiing. I was motivating all my athletes in our ski team to do your very best and just have fun. And they did. And that means a lot because it's so they can stay focused and just enjoy every minute of it. It's perfect because we're all included, we're all together, and we always motivate each other. It's powerful, and I just love it.
I think that's great, Angela. And you both mentioned elements of just being compassionate, being a friend to your teammates. And that's so important. And Marsha responded saying, thank you for those techniques. Good topic, a good question, Marsha. And Brianna also added a few questions. She had a few of them. And Brianna, you apologize for that, but no worries. I think the more questions, the better. But let's start with her first two, which were let's see, she said, how long have you been involved with Special Olympics and why did you join? I think those are great questions.
How long? 30 plus years. What's the second question?
It was, and why did you join?
Because I wanted to be, because I love the sport, all the sports that Special Olympics offers. And it helps be included. And that's one of the things that I learned a lot when I was growing up because I didn't have many people in my life at that time. But it gradually, as I go, I get to know other people as I grew up. And that helps.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, Angela. Would anyone else like to share? I know Shalom and Alev, you're only just getting to know Special Olympics, but if you're welcome to add to that question too. And Stephen, would you like to share?
I've been in Special Olympics since 2004, spring of 2004, that is. And I've started because I was asked, and I went to one of the practices, and I figured, oh, this is pretty neat. Maybe I should try it out. And that's how and then it's progressed from there, and I got to meet some friends and got to know them, and we've been friends ever since then.
That's great, Steve. I mean, my time with the Special Olympics started, I think, fall 2017. I was just volunteering for, summer games and just events here and there, and then things really ramped up for me in 2019. As just that sense of community that the Special Olympics has, and I guess that's my why. It was just there was so much more to learn and so much more to do, and it just felt rewarding for me to get involved and share some best practices, and ultimately I'd love to try and form a non-contact version of rugby one day. I think that'll be pretty cool and for everyone to try out. So I've got some games. Be on the lookout for some cool games coming up.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm totally into that, Shalom. I would love to help with that. Today has been my first introduction, so and it won't be my last. And I'm so thankful for the welcoming attitudes by everyone and how amazing, you know, to hear the stories. And I think that for me is inspiring. You guys don't know how inspiring you guys are. So that platform is so big, and to really embrace that and love that too.
Yeah.
We have another question from Anthony. Anthony, thank you so much for asking questions. What inspires you to be an athlete leader specifically?
Well, I'll give that to Alev.
Okay. It inspires me to be a leader. Also, I think comes back to my teammates. I want to, the more I know them, and Shalom touched on this, is the more we can be a cohesive unit, work together better. And so that the efforts of just putting in that time, asking them how they are, not just about the sport, but about their personal lives and about their families, and being a friend to them. As I think that's what friends do, is they ask really hard questions in pressing times, and then they support when you need it. So.
And then actually I have a question, if you guys don't mind. I feel like everyone's always excited to play, to compete in an actual tournament or game, but I feel like, and I'm guilty of this myself, when it comes to practice, sometimes it's like, well, I'll wait for the game. So how important is it in your lives to keep up and refresh your basic skills? We have a lot of athletes who compete, and then we also have a lot of athletes who just train in basic skills as they're, competing with Special Olympics. So is that still important to you today, even though you guys are professionals?
What's this about?
Sorry, Angela.
I was going to ask her what skill she was talking about. What skill?
Say you're a soccer player dribbling. That's not really something you think about once. I would think that's not something you think about daily once you're a professional. So I'm just curious, how important are those skills at practice?
Think I hear that.
So, sorry, Rachel, you were breaking up there a little bit, but I think we kind of understood what you were trying to say. So I'll take an attempt at it. So one of the things going from that carried and resonated through, the higher you get in your sport or your certain event, the more you realize that the importance of the basic skills of your game. And so one of the best advices that I personally got was to never get bored of the basics. Right, whether you play basketball or whatever sport might be, the fundamental, the core skills of your role or your position, or no matter what that is. I know in rugby there are various positions, and so to really nail your core roles in your position, if everybody just does their job, the puzzle will come together, just like Alev alluded to, right? Just like basketball, if the point guard does his job, the guard will do their job, and it'll all come together. So for the most part, Rachel, I think not getting bored of the basics and still doing them fundamentally. And there are creative ways you could do them, and this is a perfect time to kind of get creative around really staying sharp on your skills.
You like mentally sharp.
Yeah,
yes.
And that.
Yes, I think there's a reason you say fundamentals is spelled F-U-N first. You have to make it fun, and I think that is, if you can make the fundamentals fun, then they'll never be a drag. And even in your professional careers or wherever, for us, it is fun, and refining those and in those details, getting better at them, it becomes more fun.
Definitely.
Great. We have just under 10 minutes here, and 2 more questions as of now. First was from Tim Dempsey. Thanks, Tim. He said, what was your first impression of the love that Special Olympics puts out? Which I think is a really great question. So do any of you have a specific memory from the first time you, for your first impression of the love coming from Special Olympics?
I was just in awe of just the amount of passion and compassion you show each other from a competitive standpoint as well. It was really, I remember back in 2017 when I came to a competition and just saw how everybody was, giving things a go, trying different things. It was really refreshing to see, what, like, that is what sport really is about. I lost track. Sometimes I lose track of that. Especially as you try and achieve, to try and go higher in your sports career. And so for me, that it was a new profound love again for sports, right? And that was installed by attending that event, which made me attend the next one, which led me to here today, right? Finding out more about you, about everybody as athletes and what gets them through competition and preparation and whatnot. So for me, and that's a great question, Tim. And so I hope that answers it. But it really was the fact that your passion towards sports, right, and for events, your determination, the commitment, like it spoke volumes.
Angela or Steven, do you have an impression of the first time you saw a lot of love coming from Special Olympics?
Meeting all the staff members in Special Olympics. My passion is mostly in the water. I grew up both skiing and swimming, but my love was swimming. And I train very hard. I do all the skills that I can think I can do to make my strokes even better and stronger. And I know my sister is also my idol. She keeps me on my toes. She pushes me to my limit, and I appreciate all her. She's like my idol, like, since she's my sister. But yeah, she's been pushing me to be my very best in what sports I do. And that's very encouraging, and it motivates me even more. So that's important to me.
That's wonderful. I think for me, the impression, I know, Stephen, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in front of you. But it's in what Angela mentioned, it just seems like this love is unconditional. It's always there, and it's not going to go away. And that's something that's so beautiful about the Special Olympics. So that's really cool, you guys.
Steven, is there anything you'd want to add in that one? That's okay if not, too.
Not really.
Yeah, no, I think we had some good answers there. Let's see. We have maybe time for one more. Tim Bridge asked, how do you have fun during the difficult times of COVID-19? I think this is a cool one to end on. Maybe a chance just to share a little bit about what you are all doing right now. Kind of a chance to close it off. This is one way that we're able to have fun and stay connected to each other. And we'll do this again next week. But if you all have some things that you'd like to share about ways that you're having fun and keeping, we've talked about a few examples, but ways you're keeping active and well during this time.
I mean, I'll go first on this one. That is a tough question. So it's a tough question. It's a tough time, but hey, let's look at some of the some of the ways that that I've seen and I've heard and I've tried, right? We talked about being creative before, and Angela mentioned that, and I think that's very important. So one of the best ways, and Leah, you just touched on it, of having fun is staying connected. Like, one of the main reasons why we had this platform is so that every Thursday, 4:30, for the next 3 weeks, including today, we can count on a bit of connection time, right? You can come on here, we can share stories, we can have a platform where we could share ideas on how everybody else is having fun. I find this very fun when we're exchanging ideas. There's things that I'm going to take away from here. Other ways you can stay connected. I'm not a huge gamer, but I have heard people connect over Xbox and things like that, and they're connecting, whether it's gaming or whatnot. That's fine. That's just another way or a different way people connect. Going back to having a schedule. When you do things with intent, then you know that, hey, it doesn't seem fun at the time, but when you know and you do something, you end up finding out that it was really rewarding at the end of it once you do something. So sometimes you just got to do things with a bit of intent. So that's just my 2 cents to that. It's a tough time, no doubt, for everybody, but having a bit of a plan might change the game a little bit.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to add anything quickly before we finish up here?
Something that our team did was write letters to the nurses or people on the front lines of COVID, and that was something very rewarding. So if you, I know that they any support and all support they love. So it's something that kind of gets outside of our realm of thinking, is how can we help those that are also helping the efforts in keeping us safe, and that's maybe even just saying hello or a video or thanking them, and just showing acts of gratitude. It's simple as just doing that for yourself as well. So yeah, I think that's helpful for what we've been focusing our efforts on.
That's awesome.
What was the question again?
It was about ways that you're having fun right now.
Enjoying life.
Awesome.
That's awesome, Angela. I think that's a great ending point for us. That finding little ways to still enjoy life. And I'm so glad that we've all been here today to share a little bit of that. I know I have absolutely loved this. I've definitely been enjoying life right now, getting the chance to hear all of your stories. So I so appreciate all of you being panelists today, sharing your experiences, answering some questions. And thank you so much to all of the attendees on our call. Thanks for your questions. I'm so excited to be starting this off.
Thank you, everyone. We will be back next week.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Alev. Thank you, Angela, Stephen.
Thank you, guys.
Had fun with you guys.
You too.
See ya.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.